Hi everyone and welcome to Just Love. My name is Paula and I'm here with Judy. Hi Judy.
Hi Paula. Hi everyone.
In our last couple of episodes, we've been discussing Zecharia Sitchen's article entitled The Hopi Prophecy, the Blue Kachina and the Return of the Ant People. Judy has been talking about the Ant People, guardians of the inner world who sheltered humanity during the last two destructions. More on this can be found in Judy's book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth.
Yes, Paula, but I really want to bring up a point here about the term Anunnaki, as used by the Hopis. I realise now that this is a point I've got wrong in my information. I've allowed others to influence me too much over who the Anunnaki were, including in my ET Presence book and some of our podcasts. What the Hopis say about them is correct. This has been a big lesson for me and I openly admit it. When my ET consciousness first came into play, I associated the Anunnaki with the Egyptian god Anubis. I even recall putting this in one of my books, but then I took it out. This was years ago. My understanding has been that all those so-called Egyptian gods whose names end in the is suffix were mantids, as are our teachers, Horus, Maris and Serapis, who of course have a close connection with the ant people and other greys. Then I got influenced by authors such as Zecharia Sitchen, who is supposed to be such an expert in this field. To be honest, I never felt quite comfortable with his and other authors' claims about the Anunnaki being an off-planet group who came to Earth and used the primate humans as slave labour. From what I understand, it was the reptilians who did this. After all, why would a supposedly highly technological off-planet group who have mastered space travel need Earth humans to do slave labour for them? It just doesn't make sense to me and never has. Also, in some of our podcasts, I've used the term Anunnaki in connection with royal families on Earth. I respect the present royals in Britain and don't feel comfortable referring to them as reptilians, as one author used to. The term Anunnaki felt a bit softer. But really, you only have to go back a couple of generations and their reptilian, or more correctly, their reptarian roots are glaringly obvious. If good old King Henry VIII wasn't a negative reptarian, then I don't know who is. As for the present ones, some of the reptarians are okay. Being a more ancient Earth human species, some of them really do care for the planet and people, so they're not all negative. But yes, the Hopi information sits much more comfortably with me.
Yes, we're all hopefully forever learning, growing and evolving. And good on you for openly admitting that you feel when you've been wrong. However, it seems that two different races have been given the same name, so your confusion is understandable.
Wow, how weird is that? Tell us more, Paula.
Well, again, Zecharia Sitchen explains it all in an article entitled The Two Anunnaki, The Truth We Were Never Taught, The Difference Between the Ant People and Anunnaki. He goes on to say, there is a massive misunderstanding in our history that has caused more confusion than almost any other ancient story. Two completely different races, from two completely different places, with two completely different intentions, were given almost the same name, and because they sounded similar, they were fused together and treated as one. They never were. The Hopi remember one truth, the Sumerians recorded another, and somehow between those two worlds, the lines blurred. So let's bring this back into clarity. The Hopi speak of the Anunnaki, literally translated as the ant friends, or those who came from below. They were benevolent beings, humanoid but ant-like, with large oval eyes and elongated limbs. They lived beneath the earth and emerged only when the surface was burning or frozen. They guided early humans through the last two world endings, teaching them how to survive without sunlight, how to grow food underground, how to live in harmony with the Creator. They protected, preserved, and lifted humanity through the darkest ages. They asked for nothing, they ruled no one, their purpose was service. Then there is another story, the one from ancient Sumer. This lineage is also called the Anunnaki, but the resemblance stops at the name. The Sumerian Anunnaki were sky beings, god kings, genetic architects, and rulers. They came from above, not below. They were powerful, hierarchical, and often divided among themselves. Enki was a scientist and the one who cared for humanity. Enlil was the authoritarian. Their father, Anu, was the sky sovereign. These beings shaped human genetics, intervened in civilizations, and left behind stories of power, conflict, and rule. They are nothing like the Hopi protectors. The only reason the world confuses them is because both groups share the syllable Anu, but in the Hopi language, Anu means ant and underground. In the Sumerian tongue, Anu means sky and high one. Same sound, opposite meanings. This single linguistic overlap merged two unrelated races in the minds of later historians. The real truth is simple. The Hopi Anunnaki saved humanity through two catastrophes. The Sumerian Anunnaki shaped humanity through genetic engineering and rule.
Wow, that really does sound like a great example of two different timelines being played out. Surely it would be too much coincidence for two such polar opposites to share almost exactly the same name, and they are absolute polar opposites. How interesting, and how very appropriate this information coming through right now, as I strongly suspect the same thing is in the process of happening again with a timeline split. No wonder I've never felt comfortable with the Sumerian version presented by Zecharia Sitchen.
Yeah, and they certainly were polar opposites. One nurtured, one directed. One lived below the earth, one descended from the sky. One held a covenant of protection, one held a hierarchy of power. Once you see the divide, everything begins to make sense. The stories stop contradicting each other. The timelines stop clashing. The confusion dissolves. What remains is a clear map of two lineages that influenced our world in completely different ways. One through benevolence, one through authority. In other words, love and fear in action. Understanding this matters now because we are in another turning of the world. The same energies that guided humanity through ancient transitions are rising again, and the same old stories are resurfacing. If we can separate truth from confusion, remembrance from distortion, we can walk into the fifth world with clarity instead of fear. Humanity was not created by one race. Humanity was created by many hands and protected by even more hearts. And those hearts are still watching, still guiding, still remembering. We are waking up to truths that were never lost, only blurred, and now the lines are becoming clear again.
Thank you, Zachary. I love it.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense. And it's a brilliant example of how different timelines create different realities for people. It also explains how and why we are again being given the opportunity to choose love or fear as our reality at this time as we shift into the next level of conscious awareness. This too is why there's so much confusion at the moment over what is truth and what is not. What is truth for some is fiction to others. This even includes the reality of the ET presence.
Okay, so to go back to the prophecy, who are the Hopi people?
Well, to quote Google, Mr. Google, the Hopi people are a Native American tribe who have lived in the southwestern United States, primarily in what is now Arizona, for thousands of years. They are known for their rich cultural heritage, spiritual practices, and traditional way of life. The key aspects of Hopi culture are agriculture. The Hopi people are skilled farmers growing crops like corn, beans, and squash. Spirituality, their spiritual practices centre around the natural world and the cycles of nature. Artistry, Hopi artisans are renowned for their pottery, weaving and Kachinadol carvings. Community, the Hopi people live in small, close-knit villages and prioritise community and cooperation. The Hopi Reservation is located in northeastern Arizona, and it's one of the oldest continuously inhabited places in North America. This all sounds correct to me and fits in beautifully with what they were taught by the ant people, which includes agriculture, spirituality, and how to build their homes. I remember many years ago reading a mention of them in a comic book, and even right back then it stirred something deep within me.
Yes, a return to prioritizing community and cooperation and a connection to the land. So back to the extract from Zacharia's article. So we were up to where he says their name for them is Anunnaki, which translates to ant friends or those who came from below. This is not coincidence. It is convergence. It is memory resurfacing from different cultures, describing the same lineage of benevolent star-aligned beings who stepped in when humanity needed them most. And so this ties in with what you remember, Judy.
Yes, Paula, totally, and so amazing, because the mention of them in the comic book was in reference to a hole in the ground with something magical about it. I was crazy about comic books as a child and read heaps of them, but I specifically recall that point about the Hopi and the hole in the ground. It touched something deep within me.
Okay, so continuing again with Zacharia's article, the Hopi kept this record alive because they survived the last transitions by listening. They remembered, they honoured the cycles of the earth instead of pretending they never existed. And now here we are standing in the exact pattern the elders described, with almost every one of their prophetic signs active at the same time. Can you comment on this, Judy?
Yeah, well, bottom line is the planetary shift is upon us. The problem is the majority of Earth humans, and particularly our world leaders, unlike the Hopi, do not honour the cycles of the Earth, and they claim they don't exist, with their blatant denial of climate change and putting down anyone who said that it's happening. The off-planet folks down here have done our best to get the message across, including what to look for when electing a new political leader. To stop all the racism, religious intolerance and warmongering, to choose love over fear, and to stop polluting and damaging our Mother Earth. But the message is just not getting across with too many people, so on and on it goes. We create our realities through the way we think, so the only way around this that I can see is the timeline split, as we mentioned before. The American theoretical physicist and author Michio Kaku, who co-founded the string field theory, received an off-planet message that we have failed miserably and the game is up. But I don't think it's as simple as that. We do have the ability to create our own reality, so those who choose love will follow one timeline and those who choose fear will follow another, in which the world may well be destroyed. Depending then upon what mindset they continue to hold on to, their next incarnation will be decided. It's actually quite funny. Reincarnation is the great leveller and balancer. As I understand it, if you're prejudiced against any particular culture or religion, that is the precise culture or religion that you yourself will be born into next time. Isn't that brilliant? In other words, stop being intolerant of others.
Yes. Yes, that should be a wake-up call to all those who direct hatred and prejudice towards black people, white people, men, women, Jews, Muslims, Christians, foreigners, immigrants, refugees, etc., etc., etc. No wonder teachings on reincarnation have been removed from church doctrine to feed the divide and conquer agenda. If people only could remember and accept that we've all been all of these different cultures and belief systems, there'd be so much less hatred, prejudice and war in the world.
That's for sure, Paula. So, if you'd like to read more about such things, all my books are available from Amazon and can be accessed through links on my website below. They are Human by Day, Zeta by Night, followed by the Zeta Message, then Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History, and my two most recent books, both Kindle editions and both also available in German, An Interview with an Alien, Comments by an Undercover ET, and Cosmic Spirituality, Blending Religion and Science in Oneness from an Off-Planet Perspective.
Thanks, Jude, and thanks everyone for listening. We'll continue with more on the Hopi Prophecy in our next episode. So please share, like and subscribe. Sending you all much love and bye for now.